Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sacha Alari, that's my co-host. Hey, Sach, hit the titles, brother. Yes, everybody, it's me, not the animated version, the real one. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and welcome back to another episode of Completed It. We are here for a very special episode today. 25 years since Star Wars Revenge of the Sith hit our screens. We're here to talk about it. I haven't come alone. As you can see, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, good friend, Mr. Sacha Alari. Sash, how are you, brother?
All good, all good.
Can't have Star
And
Wars
I've
without
brought
you, can
on
we?
one of my old Cedos gang and creative control members on the podcast, Mr. Neil Coppin.
But how you guys
Neil, back
doing?
already.
Yes, I know.
You had
You
such
went
a good
down.
time
He had such a
before you
good
come
time
back.
talking about Sinners, and we briefly touched on Star Wars when Neil was on with me yesterday.
Yes, we did.
So we are here to talk. Boys, can you believe 2005? Neil, I'll come to you first. 2005, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith is going to be
Mm.
25 years old this coming weekend.
It's crazy because it's, I think in my opinion, it was the Star Wars film that kicked off the, it kicked us, it was the first step into where we are right now.
Mm.
I know, obviously, yes, it's the third in that prequel trilogy, but I think it set the tone that everything seems to have followed.
Mm.
What, as
This
in,
this movie though, it was for years everyone wanted to know, how did Anakin Skywalker turn into Darth Vader?
Yeah.
And I remember when the trailer dropped for this movie
Mm.
and you saw the little bit at the end when all you heard was rise. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
it comes up and you hear, and I'm like, oh my God. I just remember I worked next to, I think it was an Argos at the time. And in 2005, I remember going to Argos and they had this big, like, God knows what going on with Star Wars. I reckon I was on first name terms with the staff by the end of the first week. Every lunchtime I went in there. I was like, can I watch the Star Wars trailer on your massive telly that you've got advertising? It was, boys, everyone just wanted to see Anakin Skywalker turn into Darth Vader. And this
Yeah.
was the movie that finally done it. Sash, can you believe it's been 25 years?
Yeah, that fuck. Well, all I can think is fuck. I'm old, but yeah. 25 years. That's a milestone. I know exactly where I was when I saw that trailer. I know exactly where I was when I saw that film. I was in the cinema, mate. I
Mm.
was knee deep in it. I worked that. I worked Revenge of the Sith. I actually saw Revenge of the Sith 2 days before it actually came out on a staff,
Mm.
not just a staff preview, but West End View Cinema they had a print of it,
Mm.
and Ken was, I think Ken was one of the managers there, so he called us up. He was like, Sash, we're putting on a preview for Revenge of the Sith. Come down with Joe. So me and Joe literally dashed in his car, drove up to fucking West End. Joe knows where all the good places to park
No
are.
congestion charge.
Yeah, Joe parked his car. We literally bopped into cinema after midnight, watched that film with the staff. Oh my God, man. That shit blew my mind. And then it was that whole thing where I was like, shit, it's finally over. There's no more Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
And there
because
wasn't. And there
at
really
that
wasn't. There
at
really
that
wasn't.
time.
That was it. That was
Mm.
it. That was the thing. He was like, yeah, we're done after this one. I was like, what about your promise for like three more? It's like, nope. And then he was like, nope, we're done. I'm done. This is it. This is the final one. It was like, okay. And I believed him. We all
Yeah, this
believed
was
him.
long before Disney and
Yeah.
etc. etc. and
So
And
we
Disney
Park.
believed
didn't
him.
have the money back in them days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Disney weren't buying Star Wars back in
So,
then days.
so
Where do you think this movie sits though, boys? In the whole stuff where we, like Neil said, where we are now. This kind of for me, this was the movie that everyone wanted to see.
Yeah.
Everyone. Not just because of Vader, and yeah, you got to see how Anakin got turned. There was the stuff with the Emperor becoming the Emperor. There was so much in this movie that had kind of unraveled a little bit in Attack of the Clones. You kind of got a little bit of Anakin going bad, and then this was the final payoff. Neil, where does this sit for you? You guys, you two are like some of the biggest Star Wars fans I know. Did this movie deliver everything that you wanted it to deliver?
Absolutely. This sits for me. This is my second favorite Star Wars film.
Big praise.
Yeah.
Big praise. Big praise. Yeah, I mean,
I know
I
what you're thinking, Sash. I can see your eyes moving. Yeah, I can see the wheels turning.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That
yeah.
what you're thinking,
It's a
unfortunately,
it's a different but here's the thing, it's a this one hits different for different people who you ask, isn't it? Like for
yeah.
someone like me, okay, for someone like me, see, I got the OGs right there, yeah.
Mhm.
For me, that is the holy fucking trinity right there, okay?
Yeah.
Like no prequel or sequel will touch those three right now. I'm telling you now, telling everyone now. That's my personal opinion
Mhm.
because that's what I grew up with. That's what I was brought up with. They were there in dark times. They were there in light times. There were just three movies, god damn it,
Mhm.
for the longest of times. And I think most old school Star Wars fans feel that way. Some
Mhm.
people will be like, "Oh, Empire was better." Or for me, I'm, I'm a bit younger. I'm class of 1980. I'm year off Empire Strikes Back. Okay, I was probably three when I started watching Star Wars. You know what I mean? And like probably like eight by the time I really comprehended what it was after it'd gone to bed. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And then all those other years was just watching it every Christmas and getting
Christmas
really
and
into
Easter.
it, reading the books, all that kind of thing. So to not have any one of those freezes, those here's the thing, that's all number one to me. All right.
Mm,
There's no separation. The prequels for me hit a bit different. I was never a hater of the prequels when
Mhm.
they came out. I think the one I like the least is Attack of the Clones. So Sith is very high. And believe it or not, some people might be like, "What? You like the Phantom Menace?" Yes, I love the Phantom Menace. I'll defend the Phantom Menace. It has its flaws, sure. But you know what? Did I think it was shit when I walked out? Hell no. I watched a new Star Wars movie that blew my fucking mind. And that fucking lightsaber battle, that was some good shit. This one had some good lightsaber battles. This
Mhm.
one had
Oh,
the
dude,
lightsaber
this
battle.
this movie started
This
off with one
this
of the best
lightsaber battle.
opening scenes I
So
think in any
this
Star
li
Wars movie.
this
Yeah.
lightsaber battle, the lightsaber battle, we heard about it in myth and legend our whole
Mhm.
lives for like fucking, you know what I mean, 20 years, you know? And funnily enough, before this movie came out, a good friend of mine, comedian Imran Youssef, I'm just going to throw his name under a bus here. When I said, oh, but the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin over the lava pit, it was like, well, why are you giving out spoilers? I'm like, dude, everybody and their dog knew that would be over a lava pit for like 20 years. Have you been reading? Have you been living under a rock? You know, like,
Now, a little known fact: the actual volcano scene from that was a real volcano going off in Italy. There you go.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they put
that's
it in the
right.
movie. Yeah, not
Yeah.
many. Cheers, Satch. I thought I was going to throw an interesting fact out there, and you already knew it. Anyway, I don't know why I'm surprised.
I
I don't
didn't
know
know
why.
it, so
Yeah, there you go, Neil. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, this.
They filmed a lot of live action plates. I mean, you know what? Contrary to popular belief,
Mhm.
all the lava stuff is like either they're all physical effects, they're not digital
Yeah.
effects, they're only digitally composed. So basically, they filmed a bigature, not a miniature, a bigature, like a big
Yeah.
model of like, where they're in. And all the lava and stuff coming out, that's all like some kind of water, colored water and stuff, and they have like lights underneath to make it look red and shit. And
Mhm.
then they compose the live action plate off the mat of the volcano exploding, what they got from Italy and
Mhm.
other parts of the world as well. And you know what? They even got parts of Japan in there for when the Jedi's are being taken out. They're showing the different planets and stuff. They got
Mhm.
like mountains of Japan in there and stuff, showing the architecture, and then putting CGI over the rest of it to make it more whatever the planet's
Mm,
supposed to be. They did. The thing is, the prequels get a lot of stick for having way too much CGI. But when you look at it in today's lens, the prequels actually don't have that much CGI compared to now modern day movies. And second of all, they actually have a lot more practical effects than people give them credit for.
Yeah,
So
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
definitely. One person that doesn't get not as much credit as he should for this movie, Neil Sash,
Mhm.
General Grievous. The opening scene of
Mm.
this movie for me, I remember being in the cinema and like the credit that the famous theme tune comes on, you're just thinking, oh my God, this is gonna, and then bam, it doesn't open with like a an easy start. It doesn't ease you into the movie. It probably goes into one, and I'm going again this Saturday because it's been released this weekend. So this
Mhm.
show drops today. This will be out on Friday for everyone watching now. We are
Mhm.
spoiler alert. We're recording this on a Sunday night. Me and Neil are trying to go and get some sleep before WrestleMania, so we're getting this
Yeah.
done now. So I'm off to see Revenge of the Sith on Saturday morning up at
Mhm.
Odeon in Milton Keynes. But Neil, the start of this movie when
Mhm.
Anakin and Obi-Wan are
Or
flying in.
flying.
Oh my God. Don't you realize the shields are down? Sorry, Master. It's just like, and then it boom,
Mm.
it just goes. What did you make to the opening of this movie? I just remember sitting in the cinema. And for me, that opening, I was going, this is Star Wars.
I think what that opening did for me was it set, again, where I keep saying that this movie set a tone. That opening set a tone. This is not your regular child-friendly Star Wars movie. This is your Empire movie. This is where, okay, we're gonna cross into a little bit of adult themes here. You're right. This is not for the single numbers. It's for the people with double numbers. This is for you.
Mm.
And because that opening, it's genuinely beautiful because it just opens and you see the two ships, and firstly they're just flying, and it's just you're seeing them flying, you see the bigger craft, and then it's like, oh,
yeah.
this beauty is circumvented by the fact that we're actually in a battle.
Mm.
And
I
it's like,
like it how the camera view changes as it flips under the ship to see the
yeah.
battle. You first see space and it's like nothing,
Mhm.
And
nothingness,
then
and then
bam.
actually it's like bam. No, there ain't nothing going on. There's a lot of something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did the boys, do you think, did they get everything right in this movie with showing us how Anakin finally turns? We get it. He wanted to save his wife and, he can
Mhm.
stop people from dying. And we know the whole speech, etc., etc. Neil Sash, in your opinion, was everything done right? Is there anything that you think, as huge Star Wars fans as we all are, we can always sit here and go, oh, maybe I would have done that. And when I spoke to you on Saturday, Neil, about Sinners,
Yeah.
you were like, if I was doing this, I might have done it that way.
Yeah.
Is there anything for Revenge of the Sith that you think, oh, I might have just done it a little bit different?
At this exact precise moment when I'm like, the last time I watched the film was, I think, November, I'm gonna say no.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything I would have changed. I think if it was tiny little bit more fresh in my mind, like if I'd last seen it a week ago, then
Mm.
I could be like, yeah, I changed that. Yep, might change that. Probably would have changed that. But no, I think no. I mean, no movie is perfect, but it's as close to being it's as close to being perfect as it is allowed to be.
Did they make a mistake killing off Samuel Jackson's character?
No.
You're never really dead in Star Wars. I get that. But a lot of people that I've spoke to, I was speaking to some friends last week as we are talking about Revenge of the Sith,
Mhm.
and Samuel Jackson's been interviewed multiple times, and he's like, "I'm always up for coming back. They want me
Yeah,
back." You
Yeah.
never technically seen him die. He got booted out of a window.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Sash, did they make a mistake?
No, not really. I mean, look, everyone was going to die anyway.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Everyone was going to die anyway. Everyone saw it coming. You know, it was no surprise that he wasn't going to
Such an
die.
iconic scene though, when it
Yeah,
unlimited power bam and
yeah.
back in, it was
Mhm.
brilliant.
I mean, yeah. There's no, yeah. I mean, would we like to see Samuel Jackson come back? Yeah, that'd be cool. It gives us more
Mhm.
content. Maybe a new Star Wars story that probably should have come instead of half the shit we
Surprised they
got.
haven't done that yet. Little
Yeah,
spin-off
I
of
mean, you
like on
would have
Disney
thought
Plus
that would
of
have
like
been the
him
first
before
thing they'd
Revenge of the
done.
Sith. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
hey, Disney,
You know,
we want compensation for that idea. Just
you
saying.
know what? I'll actually bring up one thing. This movie is the Infinity War of Star Wars.
Wow, that's a huge statement.
I know, but if you think about it, you think of Infinity War. How does Infinity War end? The good guys lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that movie. The good guys
Well,
lose. Most of the heroes are gone, either dead or now in hiding. It's other than the fact that we obviously
one would
know there is an
actually
entire
argue
next
that
episode.
Infinity War is the Revenge of the Sith.
Say again.
One would argue that Infinity War is the Revenge of the Sith of Avengers movies.
That's what I say.
I
That's
mean, I
really
mean,
what
I
I
mean,
said.
technically it's the Empire Strikes Back, but you know,
No, because I think if you think
yeah,
about this, the end of Infinity War
yeah,
leaves you with only a tiny little handful of heroes.
yeah,
Everyone else is either dead or,
yeah,
scattered somewhere else. And that is exactly what Revenge of the Sith leaves you with. There is an entire army of Jedis when we start this movie. There are what, three when this movie ends, right?
I don't
Mm.
know. A new one keeps
Thanos
popping up in
Thanos
these
don't have
TV
them kind of
shows,
numbers.
so
You know, Thanos is a rookie in compared to wiping out the half of your
yeah.
team you want to gone.
Were you boys
But
surprised with the way that they, after Revenge of the Sith, they went down the animated route of filling in what had happened after, and they went down the TV series route? Like Sacha, like after this, we were done. There was no more. George Lucas was like, "Nope,
Oh
we're
yeah,
done.
no,
We're finished."
Mhm.
that didn't surprise me. I mean, like George talked about doing Clone Wars shortly after Sith came out and stuff. So
Mm.
people, if you were in the know, you knew that the Clone Wars was coming. I mean, technically, we had the Clone Wars beforehand because if you watch the old Cartoon
The
Network ones,
animated one.
the
Animated
animated
ones.
ones, they um they actually they actually tell a big story and they actually go straight into Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, the
Like,
last episode
yeah,
is
is
literally the lead in. Like
To
yeah,
Revenge of the
it's
Sith.
like 10 minutes go between the end of the
yeah.
anime and the start of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, and then George turned around and was like, "Yeah, that's not canon. That's just some fun thing. But we're going to show you what is canon." And he did his own version, which was the
Mhm.
CGI one, and that even leads into the last two episodes of the Clone Wars
Mhm.
cartoon. Actually coincides with the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot that goes on.
The
That
Lost
like,
Episodes one.
yeah, yeah, no, not
Yeah.
the lost, the
The
Reese,
seat.
yeah,
The
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah,
got you.
Siege of Mandalore. Yeah,
Yep.
that one.
Mhm.
I've
That
got you.
one.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
one. So there'll be a bit in there where they're talking to the council
Mhm.
and it's literally they're talking to the council after Anakin talks to the council in the actual Revenge of the Sith
Right.
thing. And you actually see the end of Anakin's message and him going away and then Ahsoka comes up talking to them in that same meeting.
Mm.
And you're like, oh shit, that's from, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mm.
They do quite a few things like that where it crosses over and stuff. And
Mm.
it's kind of deep, man. But yeah, yeah, back to what I would change. Yeah, there's a few things I would change.
I knew he was going to say this.
Mm.
There's a
What would
few
you
things
change?
well, actually, four things. One, I'd give Padme more of a role because she's just there. You know what
She's
I mean?
just crying for she's just crying for the
Portman's
whole
not
movie,
doing
pretty. Yeah.
nothing in this movie other than just being
Yeah.
the
Natalie
object.
Portman's got the script and gone, cry, cry, be
Yeah, yeah,
upset,
yeah, yeah,
die,
yeah.
Especially when you think
So
give
of
birth.
how much she kind of the effort that she put in
yeah,
Attack of the
Especially Attack of
Clones,
the Clones.
regardless of
but
whether Attack
but
of the Clones is
say
great or not.
but saying that though, it was the right choice to have the focused on Hayden Christensen
Mhm.
because that's the one thing I'd say about this movie. The focus has shifted from when you look at these films, all the Star Wars movies, the focus is on everybody.
Mm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you've got your main three characters, whoever they may be, but this specifically was focused on Anakin as the lead. You know what I mean? Throughout.
Mhm.
So you've seen it throughout his point of view, which was a very good move on George, kind of thing. The things that I would have changed. Now, this is going to be controversial to people that grew up with the prequels. I know. All right, you guys are going to hate me for this. But bear with me with my mindset here. All right.
Mhm.
I'm someone that grew up with the original trilogy, and
Mhm.
I'm also thinking of it as if I was watching these films in order one to six, not the machete order, not the release order. If I was watching it
One to
one to six, I probably would never have named him Darth Vader in the movie. I would have had him as Anakin, and I would have had and I would never have shown him put the armor on. I just would have had Anakin just turn bad. And the reason why I would have done that is, yeah, to save the I
Mm,
am your father for um, the two reasons. Reason one, save the I am your father for the Empire Strikes Back, which is where it should be. But the
mm,
second reason is the whole point of the prequels have been you meet a new Sith Lord. You know what I mean? You meet a new Sith Lord. Every time there's a new movie now at this point, there's a new Sith Lord. So the first movie, you got Darth Maul. The
yeah.
second movie, you have Count Dooku. The third movie, you have Anakin himself.
Hmm.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and then the fourth movie
And
you
then
have
the fourth
Vader.
movie, you meet Darth Vader. So from an audience point of view, you're like, who is this Darth Vader? Like, he's some
Yeah.
new big bad. Okay, obviously Palpatine needed, and
Mm,
now Vader could be anyone again.
hmm,
You know, when you watch A New Hope as a new person watching it, but
hmm.
but the first jingle bell is when it's like Obi-Wan lies to Luke because now he said Darth Vader's killed and murdered your father. And now the audience will be like, you lying motherfucker, you killed and murdered his father, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, but I think that would work so much better for
Yeah.
all of those things, you know, because
Mm,
that's the one thing I would have changed. But saying that, you wouldn't have the coolness because it was cool to see Darth Vader get the mask on and you know all of that stuff. But then it's kind of like what serves the story better?
mhm.
That's the question.
I think the one, I don't think what you just said is controversial. I actually think is brilliant.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Secondly, I think what you're saying about the coolness of seeing the mask and that
yeah.
go on, I think you put that in a new in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, like to show Vader's point of view, yeah.
You make the end of the Mustafa. So obviously we see the fight at the end of.
Maybe when he's looking, you know what?
Mhm.
Maybe one of those times where Vader's just staring out the window to nothing. You have like a
Mm.
flashback.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, because you or not
Jedi,
even
yeah.
I wouldn't even have it as a flashback. I just well, yes, obviously it would be a flashback, but I
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
the start of Return of the Jedi.
Oh man, look at us edit Star Wars now.
Yeah,
Shit.
well, you think about it, the start of
It's
Return
read
of
in
the
the
Yeah,
Jedi,
comments for
yeah.
this
we
episode.
have a very, very slow opening. It's first it's Leia turning up at Jabba's palace,
Yeah, yeah.
then she gets captured, and then it's Luke turning up to Leia's palace, and it's genuinely like
Well, the point to do it in,
it's a quite a slow opening.
yeah, but
Now,
you know what
mhm,
the point to really put it in Jedi
mhm,
is really when right after Vader and Luke meet for the first time on the Forest Moon and Endor, they have the
yeah,
exchange where he actually tells him, I've oh, so you've accepted the truth." And he's like, "I've
yeah,
accepted the truth that you are my father, Anakin Skywalker.
mhm,
That name has no longer any meaning for me, you know, and
mhm,
all of that shit." He has the thing, and then he's like, "Well, my father is truly dead," because he's like, if you know, is that your destiny, so be
uh-huh,
it. He goes off. What does Vader do? He looks. He just stares.
mhm,
And if you just have that camera shot a little longer,
mhm,
throw in the flashback and throw in another shot of him just stood in the full go to back to the next scene. That's the point because he's had the
yeah,
reminder of who
Hello,
he
yeah, George
is.
Lucas. Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't like he didn't like it.
but
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think even with that, I
And then
would
you
have,
can keep the coolness.
yeah, I think I would have had it differently. I would have
But
had the
then
end of the.
the way of that, but then I get why it was done that way because in the movie it's about death and rebirth
Mhm,
really because you know Padme's last breath is his first breath. You know what I mean? When
mm,
he's reborn as Darth
yeah,
Vader, and you know it's a really good scene and it's a really well done as
mhm,
well. Um, I mean, even when the Emperor comes and is just there with the corpse. Like
mm,
that's where it should have ended for Vader in that film for me. But I don't know, man. I don't know. people, audience, write in the comments what you think of this idea. Because look, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that's kind of how I would have done it, just to keep the mystique, and then have everyone watch it 1 to 6, and not all these crazy orders, man. Like, the other thing I would change.
Mm,
Now, sorry, I honestly don't see anyone arguing me with this one. All right,
mm,
I really hate.
I feel like
Okay,
he's been waiting for this episode his
I
whole
have,
life.
man. I have actually. All these, the next two take place in the same scene. Okay, so when the Emperor comes and like murks everybody, right,
mm,
and he's crying like a weasel, and he's like unlimited power and all of that shit.
mm.
Okay. By the way, I hate that whole sequence, the way it was
What, when he's
executed.
laying on the floor?
Yeah, because like it's just shit acting, mate. Like, look, they're all great actors,
Hmm.
but the way it was executed was just terrible, man. It's just really hammy, man, and really bad. But the thing that really grates me is like you've got that Sith lightning and it's being reflected on him and he's burning up his thing. It's like we need an explanation for why you look the way you look. When I watched Return of Jedi, he's just an old dude. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When he's in the
Yeah.
prequels, it's the same actor just playing his actual age. And
Hmm.
in Revenge of the Sith, he's wearing makeup to make him look 10 years older. That's fine. I know it's the same dude. I don't need a re-explanation into, hey, look, I've got a scarred face. Shut
Hmm.
up with
Yeah,
that
and this is
shit.
how I got it kind of thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a bit overkill, man. It was just a bit too much, man. Like you didn't need it. It was unnecessary. It's
No?
like
Okay.
that's just how I felt there.
Hmm.
But the main thing is Nick Golland, stunt coordinator Nick Golland,
Hmm.
who did all the fight choreography for all the prequel films. Okay,
Hmm.
great guy. He did Mortal Kombat as well. Um, he what's that? He constructed a full lightsaber sequence with Palpatine and stuff,
Yeah.
and they were going to use the stunt double, who actually kind of look, they made him look similar to Ian McDermott and
Hmm.
stuff. And then last minute, George comes in and goes, "No, we're going to use CGI to, you know, and have Ian McDermott do the fighting himself." The guy could barely stand up, right? He's not a martial artist,
Hmm.
okay? So, and it looks a bit stiff. And with the CGI, with him doing the cartwheels and stuff, it just looks a bit ropey. Whereas when you look at Phantom Menace, when you got three people in their prime fighting,
Hmm.
the way it's shot like martial arts cinema, it's a
Yeah.
thing of fucking beauty. And you're telling me we could have had that with fucking Palpatine being sick with the Force? The stuff they had cooked up, you can look at it on YouTube because they Star Wars Theory, a good Star Wars channel,
Yeah.
they posted up. They had an interview with Nick Golland, and they literally posted up. Nick Golland actually got videos of the previs that they would shoot and show to George and be like, "Hey, this is how the fight's going to be." When you look at that footage, you're like, "Oh my God,
Mm.
oh my God,
I
that
saw that
looks."
and
Yeah, I
the
wish I never
original.
saw it. I wish I never saw it. I wish I'd never seen it, just so I could be like, you know what, it looked good. But
Mm.
when you're deep in your soul and you're into film as much as I am, especially martial arts films as well. It's like, oh man, I wish I'd never seen it, man, because like it's sport that bit. But you know what, I could live without it. The bit that really needs changing out of all of it is the fucking no, no, no with the fucking melty. No, fuck that shit,
Oh, when
mate.
he's coming out of the yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
I was when I
That's the
when
only bit. That's the only bit. Otherwise,
for me that's
otherwise
the
the
only part
film.
of the movie that I
Yeah,
thought looked shit.
yeah.
You know when he
Mm.
busts out of the chains and he's sort of stomping,
Oh
and
wait, you're
Oh, the
that
talking about.
freaking
Frankenstein.
I thought that looked terrible.
No, I think
Oh,
Sasha's relating to the death of Mace Windu with the whole.
Oh yeah,
oh,
that was
with the
crap.
emperor, Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm on about the bit at the end when when he pops out of the fucking chains and he starts stomping around like like one of them
Yeah,
toys that
like
you
Darth
wound up.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, and he's like all of a sudden he is Darth Frank. I thought fucking hell that looked for me that's the only bit that looked shit and was shit. But
you
I
know what? I didn't mind that. I didn't care about
yeah I didn't care.
that.
Boys, did you Neil? We spoke on Saturday
Yes.
about the Star Wars franchise, and you were like, "I'm done with that part of it now, and it's good for new fans to move on, etc." We were talking about
Mm.
what's coming out in 2027. Alas, I'm going to ask you this question though.
Yeah.
after Revenge of the Sith, and a lot of people have made comments because it is coming out again this weekend.
Mhm.
A lot of people are now saying they've done everything apart from give Darth Vader his lone movie or TV series.
Don't want to
In
see it.
in any, he's pretty much answered my
Don't want
question
to see
already,
it.
Satch. In any
Look,
world, do we get it? Does it happen?
here's I will be honest, right? Because
Because we got
after
Obi-Wan, we got everything. We've got Attack of the
yeah.
Clones, we've got so much. But Darth Vader
Mhm.
and another one that I'm going to quickly throw out there that
Mhm.
apparently was going to get made, and you boys will probably fucking know more than me,
Mhm.
was how Yoda become Yoda. That was a
Mhm.
movie that I've read so much about that quote unquote could still happen. But Neil,
Don't want to see it.
you don't want to
I
see you don't want to see Vader have his own movie,
Do you
Yoda.
know why? I'll tell you what it is. I don't want to see a Vader movie for two main reasons. The
What? Yep.
first of those main reasons is because every time this crop of Star Wars, so Star Wars under Disney, every time they've tried to present us a legend character or a legacy character, that's where they've stumbled. They
You
give us
don't
Mandalorian, it's a brand new person you never heard of, they succeed.
Obi-Wan?
They gave us Obi-Wan, and I'm like, I personally, I watched it and I was just like, this is just content. I didn't sit there and be like, wow, that's really interesting. The most interesting for me, the most interesting aspect that I found with Obi-Wan was his interactions with Uncle Ben,
Mm,
Hmm.
same.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't rate Obi-Wan.
Ahsoka was my favorite.
Right.
Ahsoka was okay.
I liked it. I
I
really
didn't
enjoyed it.
like. I didn't like Obi-Wan. I didn't like.
I felt that with Obi-Wan, we were just waiting for that again. It was just that final episode where him and Vader had a that
I
was that
think they
that
just.
was
I think they just fumbled it from the
Mm.
get-go. I think for starters, it should never have been a limited series. It should have been ongoing thing that
there's
had a
talks of
plan.
season two coming out.
No, that's just Ewan McGregor saying he wants work. That's it.
Mm.
There's nothing. Look, actor wants work. Please
Mhm.
feed me. No, that's not. That's the only talk you're getting. There's nothing official from Lucasfilm yet because
Right.
they don't know how to tackle a season two.
Mm.
Mm,
That's what I think. I think they did the first one. It made the numbers that it made. They looked at the backlash, and they don't want more backlash.
Mhm.
So that's what I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
I
fucking
don't
hell, they
know.
just released what was the one
But I
a
mean,
few months ago that was absolutely dog shit.
the Acolyte.
Yeah, oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. You're talking about Backlash. Jesus Christ, I could have wrote a better Star Wars TV series than the Acolyte.
Yeah, that.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
But do
you
you know
get,
what? Do you know the
yeah,
problem? Sorry to cut you. Do you know what the problem with the Acolyte is?
It's
The
shit.
problem with the Acolyte is, in my personal opinion, is for 45 years or for however many years we had it, there was, even though there was multiple books that contradict things, and there were comic books and there were video games and Christmas specials and there was all this stuff that contradicted other things, there was still a general straight line of the history of Star Wars.
Hmm.
yeah.
The Acolyte and anything when when they're like, oh, this is the old Republic, and I'm like, this isn't the old Republic, and that is the problem that one of the problems that the Acolyte had was they're trying to tell you this is the past, but you're going against the rules that are in place that have stayed pretty much in place from the get-go.
Mm. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You
Yeah,
are right.
Mm.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Boba Fett I didn't like either.
Yeah.
So you see,
Yeah,
they've
Again,
tried all
legacy
these
character.
spin-offs, but they haven't tried the ultimate spin-off, and that's Darth Vader.
I
But you
wouldn't
know
touch
what?
it. The
Another reason why it wouldn't work.
because we've already got it. That's the movies.
Not
That,
even the movies. Not even the movies. They wouldn't be able to replicate the
mm,
best version of Vader from the moment Revenge of the Sith ends
yeah.
Mm.
to the moment of like
I mean,
Hope, right?
so
There is a Marvel comic series that follows Darth Vader from the end of Revenge of the Sith
yeah,
and it goes from the end of Revenge of the Sith to the start of A New Hope. And then there is another series after that goes from A New Hope the end of A New Hope to like the I think it's like the end or the beginning of
Empire Strikes
Empire
Back.
Strikes Back. Everything that happens in there, the level of detail, and I read those comics and I was like, okay,
You need to tell
these are
me. You need
written
to
by
send me them
people.
after. I need to go and buy them.
Yes, I will show
Yeah,
you the I can damn well get
He's off.
yeah,
He's gonna go and get them. Love it. See, this is the
they are
YouTube.
right here. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I
Oh
mean,
wow.
This
I am gonna order them straight away.
this right. This this
yeah,
these here are genuinely if you are a I'm gonna say if you are a fan from the point of view of original trilogy, you know, prequel trilogy, those what you see there, that is what is necessary to be a solo Darth Vader story.
yeah. I mean,
I mean, it would
I
be
mean, that's
fucking
just
such
it.
easy money for Disney if they did do it.
That's just it. I mean, the the story's been done, mate. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like that was George's story to tell, and he
Mhm.
told it in 6 films.
Yeah.
And people cry, no, but we want our standalone one from his point of view. You're not going to get better than what has been put out there in the
Mhm.
comic books. Look, I'm more interested in the Darth Vader game. You give me a Darth Vader game, I'll lap that up. You know what I mean?
He was in
Um,
what was the last I played it on my Xbox. What was the last one? There's the sequels just come
Force
out.
Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. He was in that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was in that.
And he
But
was
I
also
mean,
in Fallen Order.
Hmm.
yeah. But I mean,
Force Unleashed was a great game, by the way. Just
Mhm.
throwing that out there. I
yeah,
loved
yeah,
it.
that was a great game. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, no,
So it's
Yoda
a no
movie.
to Yoda movie, no
No,
to
No
Darth
to
no,
a
Vader
Yoda
movie.
movie. No
yeah,
to a
no
Darth.
to a Yoda movie. So here's the thing.
I think it
There's
was
a
more
pro
based around how he becomes who he
Yeah,
is, kind
no,
of thing. I think that's the concept that I read. Again, this is all bollocks. You just
yeah,
read it
But
on
no.
the
I
also,
mean,
yeah.
with Yoda, you want to have a bit of mystique with some of these characters as well.
that's exactly
It's
what I was going to
like
point
it's
out.
like the minute you start telling every nook and cranny,
Backstory.
Mhm.
yeah, it's like the mystique is gone and it kind of dilutes the product, man. And that's the
Mhm.
problem with Star Wars at the moment. The product's been so diluted that nobody really cares anymore. Some, a majority of people don't care anymore.
Mhm.
The Mandalorian is that ray of hope where people are like, oh my God, like myself, like I saw that thing, that sizzle they gave at Celebration the other day.
Mhm.
I lost my mind, man. I watched it like 5 times. You can
Mandalorian's a
see, and
genius, genius show.
but that's just it. I mean, you know what? With Star Wars, they need to rail it back in. You know what? If I was in charge, I'd just be like, yo, Mando. We're gonna do Mando for the next 10 years, and that's the only thing we're gonna do. Like hands down. Why? Because it's popular. Two, people like it, and three, it sells. You know what I mean?
2027, we're getting a brand new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, we'll see
But you
when it
know
comes
what, as
out.
well? You know the a problem that I personally have with it is
You have a
obviously
personal problem with that movie.
no. I would just this Star Wars in general.
Your DOP is working on it.
I know, right? Is the issues that I kind of have with it is this. As I said before, anytime we've been presented with a new character, things have
Better. Yeah,
generally been better,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like look at Star Wars Rebels.
Right?
New IP, new characters,
Hmm.
fantastic
One of the
show.
best
One
shows
of the
ever made.
best
Yeah.
shows ever made.
And that's the thing is
Yeah.
every time they try and give us, oh, you love this character? Well, here's a whole show of them. Here's a whole movie of them. It it thing is, it will
I
never
think
live up
everyone
to the
does that though,
legend,
Neil. If you look at like
right?
Marvel with Loki and all the spin-offs they've done, I think that's just an easy thing to do now. A, you know it's going to make money, and B, it's just a quick, fuck it, we'll give you a Loki series or we'll give you an Agents of Shield
The
series and
big
we'll
the
fill in the
biggest
bits, you
difference
know.
but
But the
there's a
difference with
difference.
that
The
is,
difference with that is with Marvel, their comic books, those characters have always existed with their individual properties
mhm,
for decades, many decades. Even before we were alive, there were
yeah,
those comic books. So, it's very easy for Marvel to have all these
solo stories.
characters, all these solo
Hmm.
stories, because the Marvel comics did that from the get-go. From the
Yeah.
get-go. Star Wars is different because Star Wars was only originally those three films. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So to do all of this stuff is relatively new for Star Wars, and it's new for film. Let's face it, films never used to cross-pollinate like this. You had your movie, you'd watch it. Your big blockbuster back when we were growing up were the Jerry Bruckheimer action movies of
Your
the
Con
day.
Air,
Your
your
Con
Top
Air, your
Gun.
Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
it was that big budget action movie.
Mhm.
And now, obviously the comic book genre and science fiction genre due to Star Wars have kind of blown up,
Mhm.
a lot in the past 25 years,
Mhm.
that and the thing is, the reason why these genres are so well is because you've got with Marvel, for example, you've got 80, 90 years of material. Same with DC, 80,
Mhm.
90 years of comic book material. And
Mhm.
with 90 years of material, you are talking about your great granddad's Superman, your granddad's
Yeah.
Superman, your father's Superman. And you've got to understand, those guys have been waiting to see these movies for decades. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Forget the youngins now. Well, these guys have been waiting to watch these movies for decades. Like, I remember when I was in school, I'd be like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have an Avengers movie? How would that happen? It would never happen. And when we were getting it, I was like, there's no way they're going to fucking deliver. And they delivered. And I was
Mhm.
like, what? I was genuinely skeptical that they would deliver, but they delivered.
Mhm.
And even with Star Wars, it came. We wanted it, and then Disney gave it to us, and it came, and it came at a price, and they've changed it, and now they're trying to rejigger it for a new generation of people, and that's fine. That's fine. I've accepted that now because the way I see it is, I've got my free. You know, you ain't taking that away from me.
Like the way he's got them behind his bed. The future
Yeah.
Mrs. Alari, she's in for a treat. The future Mrs. Alari. Can't wait.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna get taken
Hey, listen,
down.
they gotta learn. They gotta learn that,
They're gonna learn
man.
fast. They're gonna learn fast. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the world that we live in now with the spin-off world. But going back
Yeah.
to Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
25 years, boys. Where do, where does Neil? You've already told us where you think it sits. Sash, are you Neil? It's his second favorite of all time. For
Mhm.
you, as someone that was maybe a little bit skeptical when they started doing all these, I know, like you said, you got
I
your
don't know.
original three there.
I don't really rank these things. I mean, I definitely don't rank those three films. So this would probably be like maybe my third, maybe my fourth.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would have to be my fourth favorite, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's definitely the strongest out of all the prequels. But saying that, I am a Phantom Menace defender.
Mhm.
To be
Okay,
fair, this
and
is
I
the
really
reason the
do need
prequels
it.
were made, really, because we all
I
wanted to know how Darth Vader become Darth Vader. Let's be
Exactly.
honest.
And it's probably this, then Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones don't even make the cut, but
I didn't mind Attack of the Clones, to be
Yeah,
fair.
I
you
never
know,
really had a problem with Attack of the
you know what
Clones.
my
It was a
problem.
bit too,
I'll get
maybe bit too
you know.
lovey-dovey for me for
It,
Star
Mm.
Wars, but
so
you
that's my
know,
problem with it. That's my problem with it. The love story doesn't work. They have
yeah.
no
But then look at the last
chemistry.
Thor movie. Fucking no,
They
that was
have
like,
no
well,
chemistry.
like
They
watching
have
an episode
no
of Blind Date.
chemistry. They have no. It's not written very well. The script in terms of the romance.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's no way I'd believe that whiny guy would get with the senator. There's no way. You know. But
Mm.
we only believe it because the story dictates that happens.
Mhm.
Uh, George needed help there. He needed help there with that script, man. But it is what it is. It
Mhm.
is what it is. But then without it, you don't get this. You don't get this greatness. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
So
while we're sitting here talking about 25 years of Revenge of the Sith, Neil, where do you think we'll be in another 25 years with the Star Wars franchise?
In in all honesty,
Mm.
I think, and I don't like to have to say this, I think in the next 25 years, I think what's going to happen is in the next 12 years, there will be a lot of upheaval and a lot of things happening where the power of the brand of Star Wars is going to get diluted. There's
Mm.
going to be a lot more things that come out. People are like, nah, I'm not really liking that. Oh, that wasn't great. That wasn't great. I then think
We're kind of there now.
following the following 12 years, will be a resurgence.
Hmm. Okay.
I think because I do genuinely think
Are they looking to kick that off in 2027?
I think they'll try. But I mean, one of the problems, the issues that I have with everything new Star Wars is the original, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. Outside of, say, Liam Neeson and Christopher Lee, the majority of the cast were relatively unknown,
Hmm.
right? You know, in the original trilogy, you had Alec
Alec
Guinness
Guinness, and
and
you
you
had,
had Peter Cushing,
yeah,
That was
right?
literally it, really.
And that was it,
Mm.
right? They're like, oh, we're gonna do a new Star Wars film and we're gonna get Ryan Gosling in it.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I
Wherever he
love Ryan
plays,
Gosling. Don't get me
he's a
wrong,
great
but
actor.
he's a
But
great
whoever
actor.
he
But
plays,
yeah,
he's not going to be that character. He's going to be Ryan
Ryan
Gosling
Gosling.
playing
Yeah,
that character because
Mm.
everyone knows who Ryan Gosling is. He's a huge star, right? To some people, he's Ken. To some people, he's he's the guy
Poor guy.
from Drive, the no-named protagonist from Drive.
yeah,
Hmm.
It's He is so well known. It would be the equivalent of putting Keanu Reeves in a film in Star Wars, right?
yeah. It's
People
like
would just be
not.
like, "Huh, it's John Wick with a lightsaber." If you're old enough, you'll be like, "That's Ted Theodore Logan." you know,
Dude, what am I
and
doing in
it's
Star
it's
Wars?
it's that thing of
Yeah,
Star Wars, almost like Superman. They didn't put someone who was super well known to everyone in the
yeah,
role, so you could believe and accept them as that role. Throw in
yeah.
Ryan Gosling in.
You put your names in for supporting, not for
Yes.
yeah, not for the guy. You
Yeah,
know.
Is the
you
2027 movie leading to a story that we find out what Rey's up to these days? Because it's set 10 years after the last movie, the
I
21.
don't care. I don't
There's a lot
care
of that
what
in this.
Ray's doing.
There's a lot of
I
that in this
mean,
episode.
I don't
as
care.
you know what it is, I think the problem is, well, the problem with that is
Because she said she's been when I've seen her interviewed, she's like she saw like a tentative idea of what Disney
yeah.
and obviously
Yeah,
Lucasfilms have given her, and she's read it and she's like, I'm up for it. I
Mm.
think where they're going to go with the end of the movie that we're going to get in 2027, I think that's going to set up the Ray movie, another
I mean,
Star Wars.
it's very, very much, it's very
Because
possible, it's very
they'll have
likely.
to
She
reference
is
her.
one of
Some
the
it's 10
few,
years after the Rise of the Skywalker,
yeah,
so it's going to have to tie
well,
in somehow.
it depends when this Starfighter is set,
yeah.
doesn't isn't it? We don't know anything about it other than Brian Gosling and who's the director?
Oh, I
Is
can't
it the
remember his
Deadpool
name.
one?
But
Deadpool
didn't they come out of
Wolverine?
the Star Wars celebration and when they'd done the Q&A and they were like, it's going to be set 10 years after the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh
Mhm.
God, then I'm not
Yeah.
interested.
I mean, the thing is, the thing is,
Yeah,
right, the problem is Rey is a divisive character
Mm.
because there was a moment where it was like she's not connected to anyone, and okay, cool.
yeah,
Let's see what you can do considering you're not connected to anyone.
yeah,
Then, the end of Rise of Skywalker is Rey Skywalker.
Mm.
And I'm
yeah.
just like, no disrespect.
You ain't.
Rey did nothing over the course of three films to earn that name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have it, and you have to carry the weight that comes with it. And I'm like, do I believe that you are going to be able to carry that weight? Like, unless we've got Mark Hamill, Force Ghost, who taught her and trained her and gave her, a whole host of wisdom. I'm like, nah, because I know, I right above me, right here, right now, I have the Sith handbook, I have the Jedi handbook, and I have the Imperial handbook. I promise you, there's nothing in them any of those three books that she knows. So I'm like, you ain't fit to be teaching the next generation of
I feel
Jedi,
like Neil's getting set to release some sort of exam on this woman.
right?
Before I see you in these next movies, please read this and
Yeah.
read
So
question
I'm
one.
just like, yeah, I'm as I said, because Rey is a divisive character, I'm going to struggle with the idea of her, not her carrying a Star Wars movie,
I'm
Hmm.
not.
her carrying a movie in such a way where we're putting her in a position to say, well, it's 10 years later. Has she created a Jedi Order of her own?
Yeah, I
And
get you.
I'm like, I
See
don't.
that's just salt in the wound because they're just basically giving people what people wanted with Luke in the first place, but with
Yeah.
Rey. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
Yes.
that's you know, if they want it to be a success, you
Mm,
shouldn't have it connected to any of those three movies. You should just
100%.
make new characters, new shit, avoid those three movies like the
Because, like
plague,
Neil said earlier, when they have
and
done it, they've
just
done it well. When they've
Mm,
yeah,
told these new stories, new characters,
yeah,
and we mentioned Attack of the Clones a lot, and Rebels was
mhm.
absolutely a piece of
yeah,
absolutely incredible. I probably my favorite, I'd say, Star Wars Rebels. It's up there with Attack of the Clones to me. I
Mm,
preferred Rebels, but when you do give us these new characters, and you're like, right, shit, I'm starting from page one here.
mhm,
When you
yeah.
give us a Rey movie, or like I said earlier, if you did give us a Darth Vader movie or a Yoda movie or fucking God knows what else, we got the Solo. We got Solo, which
yeah.
was
That wasn't too bad.
okay. I didn't mind that.
Yeah, I
Thought
didn't mind
the
that.
the ending was
Mhm.
incredible. I loved the bit of obviously the end, the fight scene at the end. I thought it was incredible. But you do run the risk of, like Neil said earlier, going, oh shit, if you give us this, then everyone's gonna. You open up a whole can of worms for people to
Yeah,
go. Nah, you should have
I
left
think
this where it was.
also to touch on that, you just reminded me of something, right? Do you know my problem with the Han Solo movie?
Mm.
It
what was
didn't
that?
live up to the legend of what I expected Han Solo to be from the original trilogy.
Mm,
It's the equivalent of like, okay, it exists,
yeah.
but the Joker movie.
Oh yeah,
There
yeah.
is a Joker movie, and to a certain subset of
And
people,
then there was a
that
musical.
is the official history. That is how the Joker was created, and that doesn't match up to the energy, to the image I have of what the Joker is supposed to be.
Especially if you read the comics.
Yeah, especially if you've read the comics. But it's sort of like when you give me the backstory of a certain character,
Mm,
I think Darth Vader is probably the best version of this mysterious character. Here's how they became who they are.
mm.
Mm.
Most times, and this is not just a Star Wars thing. This is a general movie thing. When you have this iconic character and you're like, here's a backstory, here's how they became who they are, it rarely lives up to the legend, especially when we're talking about something that is like
Yeah.
30 years old, 40 years old. Star Wars is going to be 50 in 2 years, right? It's so difficult to do that, and I just think that it's best to leave it alone. And
Yeah.
that's why I don't want to see a Yoda film. That's why I don't want to see a Darth Vader film. I know who Darth Vader is. Leave it there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't tell me what he got up to after Revenge of the Sith. Like you say,
Yeah.
you've got the comic books for that, and I'm definitely going to order them. By the way, once we
Yes,
finish
I will
recording this.
literally.
Yeah, drop me what they are, bro, and I'm going to jump on
Yeah.
Amazon and order them. I'm reading the whole Rebirth run at the minute, the DC Superman Rebirth run at the minute. And that's
Ah.
absolutely incredible. But boys, I'm off to see Revenge of the Sith this coming Saturday. Are you boys checking it
Mhm.
out in the cinema? Are you going one more time to see it in the cinema?
I
Uh,
unfortunately won't be able to see it in the cinema. I
Yeah, I
won't
think
be
it's on.
around
I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's on at my audience. So I think it's on
a
for
couple of days. Yeah, no,
yeah, it's on for 4 days. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna be
go.
pretty busy.
Yeah, I'm going Saturday morning at 10 a.m. It's the only time I could squeeze it in. Now my football season's finished. But boy, Neil, pleasure having you back on the show, my
Pleasure
man.
to be
I
here.
forgot to ask you last time. Tell our listeners and the viewers and people watching
Mhm.
where they can find you on social media. Anything you
All right.
wanna shout
Well,
out,
yes,
brother?
you can find me on Instagram and TikTok as Neil the Real Deal, and that's real as an REEL, a film reel. You can find me there posting reviews, fantasy castings, remakes, or like what I would do if I remade a film, or sometimes just like a top 10 of like film music or something. So you can find
Perfect.
me on TikTok and Instagram or Facebook, but that's it.
Perfect, my man. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. I got a feeling you're not going to be a stranger to this show coming up, bro. It's always awesome to sit down and chat some movies with you, mate. Really appreciate you coming on, bro. Sash, Pleasure as always, my man. You and I are going to be back. I think we've got something lined up for maybe next week sometime. I can't actually remember, but yeah, we'll. This one's going to be coming out. This one will be out on Friday. So if anyone wants to find us on YouTube at Completed It Pod, the subscriptions are slowly building. Really appreciate everyone subscribing to the show. Thanks for all the awesome feedback on all the interviews that we're doing and all the stuff that we've got coming out. I really do appreciate it.
Mhm.
Incredible feedback. We're only what 2 months into this, and I've already sat down with Tom Arnold. We've interviewed the Shredder. We've people from Back to the. We talked Back to the Future, Star
Mhm.
Wars, etc., etc. I've found out the price to get. Did you see the thing I put in the WhatsApp group about
Yeah, I
Hayden
did.
Christian? Yeah, I don't think we'll get Hayden Christian on. I don't think I might have to remortgage the house and sell a kidney. But
Mhm.
you can find us on X at Completed It Pod. But we'll be back later next week with more movie talk, film reviews, and everything pop culture. But till then, everybody, stay safe.